really sweet moment in the early spring here, late April, New York State, and the mason bees are waking up from their slumber from the winter and just doing such incredible, beautiful work. I'd like to share some notes about these simple hives. We've talked about them in the past, but they're in their peak moment right now. So I'll share notes about what we've done to help facilitate housing for them, why we care to do it, and then we'll do a little bit of BTV of just me out of the way so you can watch and enjoy them. They're just little miracles. It's a little windy this afternoon, so sorry about that. I'm looking due west right now. You can see the sun is on its way down, and so the wall that these bee hives, these mason bee hives, are mounted on is a south-facing wall, and they get this one gets early morning light, mid-morning light, south-facing, a little bit east light, and incredibly simple structure. This is a carpentry project that anybody can do. This is a scrap of roof metal on top to help keep the rain and snow from getting in there. Very low quality random offcuts of lumber, roughly 6 inches deep, roughly whatever amount of height makes sense. And then in this case we're looking at Japanese knotweed tubes that are about 6 inches long. They've got a little section in the back. General rule of thumb roughly is that if the tube will allow a pencil inside, it's happy for a bee. But they're flexible. You can see the biggest of the big they leave alone. The teeniest of the tine they try to figure out maybe other species go in there. This is the second one we built a year after the first. Almost the same exact idea. There's sheet metal roof on top. This feels really important. It's an additional 3 minutes and $0 if you can find old scrap roof metal. You can use anything, but just to make sure there's not water dripping into them. And it's also under this very scrappy but simple shed wing that we work under. This is Phragmites for the most part. There's a little bit of Japanese knotweed, but also Phragmites tubes. Both, quote unquote invasive, noxious, blah, 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 who cares? They're amazing tubes to create housing for these bees. We then put 1/2-inch hardware cloth over and around. The bees can get in there very, very easily. This is pretty important though. It keeps the birds from pulling the tubes out. We didn't buy in bees to start this. They simply found it. We noticed them flying around a little bit, and so we set it up so they could enjoy it. And now there's a little bit of a community and probably a tradition. These bees look for these. I think what we'd like to do this week is hopefully make some time, maybe even make some stronger, more long-lasting ones that can fill this entire wall. This takes up almost no space, cost just about $0. We have it right next to a main working area. In fact, this is where we assemble our orders for shipping. We're a small-scale nursery. A couple of folks watching this video might notice or remember this space from when we were hanging out over the last few days doing bare root sales. So we're here all the time. I've never ever been stung by these bees. They're just so exquisitely, benevolently lovely and tender and hardworking, and are so much a pleasure to be around. Very, very safe. We've had kids here and never an issue. Just joy. If you live in a vaguely similar climate to central New York State, we're Zone 5B. Last frost is mid-May. Making these sorts of structures out of whatever reeds you can find where you are. Maybe bamboo is prevalent, maybe Japanese knotweed. We just find old dead stalks. Again, if a pencil slips in there, you're about right. Anywhere, give or take that size, give or take 6 inches deep, and a simple box with a protection in the front. I strongly dissuade folks from trying to make trays and fancy things and drilling out holes. They really seem to prefer these natural reeds by a long shot. So that's really good news. You can find those where you are. These bees, this one little hive, will probably industriously pollinate the vast majority of the plants we care about in our backyard. We don't harvest honey from these. It's just about supporting native pollinators and getting our needs met as well. It's a very mutualistic situation, and the amount of peace and joy we derive from seeing these beings work is absolutely worth every 7 pennies it took to build the thing. As windy as it is, they're working hard this evening. They'll work hard all day. This apple, ornamental apple, is just about ready to flower. They'll get a huge nectar flow from that. But right now we're excited to hope that they pollinate our honeyberries and our black currants, our red currants. Those are the flowers that will be opening soon. We have apricots and Nanking cherries that we're hoping for really strong pollination. And as there's more and more decline in honeybees, European honeybees, it is the native pollinators that are so critical to support for our own food security as well as their needs. So on this windy evening, I hope this video finds you well. I hope your landscape is hosting many, many native wonderful beings and non-native wonderful beings like yourself, most likely, and that you're thinking about building structures like that. Less than $10, very much accessible for any kids to be involved, really basic carpentry, and not only rewarding, but I would describe as incredibly critical for our future needs, as well as these creatures. We're all in this together. We've got to grow so much more food and build resilience and interdependency. Thank you, tiny bees, for hanging out where we hang out, and thank you for watching.